information about this important topic.
Reverend Dr. Stenneth Davis is an ordained bishop of the New Testament Church of God in Jamaica. At present, he serves as the district overseer and pastor for Newport District of Churches in Manchester. He is a member of the National Youth and Discipleship Board and had the privilege to serve as the former assistant director of the Evangelism Board for our denomination. Reverend Dr. Davis is the principal of Baileystown Primary and Infant School in Clarendon. He holds a diploma in education, a Bachelor's of Arts degree in theology, a Master of Art in leadership and management, and a doctorate in transformational leadership. He is a humble servant of God that believes in servant leadership. He is guided by the scriptural belief, nothing good will God withhold from those who walk uprightly. Reverend Dr. Davis is happily married to Velma, and the union has produced 2 sons. Please give your full attention to Reverend Dr. Stenneth Davis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderators. I want to use the opportunity to greet our National Director, Bishop Page, and all the other members of the Youth Board and the team of leaders across this lovely island of Jamaica. I am more than humbled to be the newest comer, the newest arrival on the Youth Board, and I pledge with all my heart to serve with pride and to really give credence to the name of our Lord Jesus Christ as we seek to edify, to groom, to disciple our young people. The task is mine to really look at the challenge of education during this pandemic, the COVID-19. It is a critical juncture in our nation's history, from infant schools to PhD programs. Students across the globe are experiencing the altering effects of coronavirus as classrooms move online, and course curriculums in some cases are stretched, and in some other cases, curriculums are cut. We look at the method that the Ministry of Education had to use to determine the results of the PEP exam and the CSEC exams on our island. The cry intensifies as parents, students, teachers have been burdened with the task of adapting to an online learning environment seemingly overnight, thrusted upon us without preparation. Many parents have been forced to take on the role of IT technicians in a time like this. Many parents have become teachers. They themselves are not able to read or to navigate the technology that is needed for education that is now gone online. And at the same time, many parents are now babysitting while offering learning or turning their homes into classrooms as the kids remain at home. It is indeed a difficult time. The stark consequence of the COVID-19 have thrown both families and the education industry for a loop. The sudden switch to digital learning has brought with it a few valuable lessons. So even though COVID would have disadvantaged the education system in more than one ways, I am also purporting that it would have also added some advantage to the education system. In fact, the future of education has been transformed to not only accommodate online classrooms, but embrace a digital education. This is the way forward for us. As a denomination, as youth leaders, we've got to get ourselves and those we lead prepared for this. Since March of 2020, all if not most of our young people would have been engaged in continuous education through video calls, WhatsApp, Zoom platforms, drop-off worksheets, and emails and other classroom platforms. Education through online platforms is currently the best alternative in keeping schools open and to minimize the spread of this disease. And the Ministry of Education is backing this fully. Globally also, this is the stance that is taken globally. Many countries have adopted this approach, and so Jamaica would have. The Ministry of Education has been hosting preparation meetings. Oh my God, meetings after meetings. Meetings with parents, meeting with school leaders, meeting with teachers. The meeting list keeps going on. A lot of consultations via technology for all stakeholders of education. But as a denomination, we are also encouraged to effectively utilize and participate in these training sessions as they are announced by the relevant stakeholders. So I'm encouraging our youth leaders, as soon as we get the links for these meetings, please to encourage the parents within our congregation and the students or the varying stakeholders that these meetings would so request their presence. So as a denomination, we too must become informed. It is a known fact that the workload for online class is much more than regular classes. I've heard it from the parents, I've heard it from the students, and I've even proven that for myself. As a result, we must also be guarded as to the psychological impact accompanied with such strain, and be ready to offer psychosocial interventions, counseling from skilled professionals within our reach. Now, I want to look at a few statements or pronouncements from the Education Act that some of us must be in, that this denomination as leaders, we ought to be informed about. The Education Act of 1965, Section 21 states, it is the duty of the parent, and I want to emphasize this, because there are some parents who are blaming the Minister of Education, blaming the government, blaming politicians, but listen to the Education Act. It is the duty of the parent of every child of compulsory school age residing in a compulsory education area to cause him or her to receive full-time education suitable to his age, ability, and satisfactory to the educational board for the area, either by regular attendance at school or otherwise. The parents do have a responsibility to ensure that our kids are educated. It's not fully in the government's coffers. It's not a responsibility of the government. Parents, we have a responsibility, and we ought to step up to the plate when it comes to the education of our children. The Child Care and Protection Act out of 2005 outlines provisions which protect the child's right to quality education. The Child Care and Protection Act, Part 3, the Act is 2005, subsection 28, duty to secure education of a child states, every person having the custody, charge, or care of a child between the ages 4 and 16 years shall take such steps as are necessary to ensure that the child is enrolled at and attends school. So if we have a child between the age of 4 and 16, it's the responsibility of the parent, it's the responsibility of the guardian, it's the responsibility of even us as a church as we address youth leaders today. From age 4 to 16, it's our responsibility to ensure that the child is enrolled at a school and attends school. Now, due to the current effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, there exists a growing demand to establish homeschools. This is fast on the rising homeschool. This forms part of the paradigm shift and an alternative to the public education system. But we ought to be guided by certain principles, certain guidelines and regulations from the Ministry of Education if we should so make the determination or the choice to homeschool our kids. Homeschooling involves parents or guardians taking on the task of educating his or her or their children in the familiar control setting of the home. The homeschool system allows children to work at their own pace. Yes, it does give that leeway, in which teaching and learning is facilitated by parents, family members, or a trained tutor at the expense of the parent or the guardian. This can be a very expensive venture, and most times we don't find middle class or lower class societal family members getting involved in this practice. However, parents and guardians who choose to homeschool their children must take full responsibility to ensure that their children are educated in a safe and conducive learning environment, guided by the standards provided by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. And this came out of a bulletin that was released in September, Bulletin 167. All right. Now, as a denomination, the challenge is before us. If we look at deep rural Jamaica, for myself and the team at Newport, we had a severe struggle this morning to be online with you. We gathered at the church and we had to move to another location. It is said that 60% of our students, our learners in Jamaica, are not having reliable access to the internet. And school has now gone online, or school has now taken on the form of technology. What is going to happen? What can the church do to help those who are disadvantaged among us? We would have looked at these recommendations from the board, right? We would have discussed them in our first meeting, and we would want to suggest or recommend the same to the youth leaders across the district or across your district. Recommendation number one, each district and local director should recognize a need on their district. I know the needs are many, but if you recognize a need on your district and solicit funds to donate an instrument to at least a needy child, in the area that I serve, 186 students, I did a survey the other day, and only 62 of the 186 students would have a tablet or a laptop. The other 100 plus depends on the cell phone, WhatsApp app, WhatsApp from their parents to access education. And this is really a concern. So we're saying to the district local directors, organize, look, establish a need, recognize a need, and let us see if we can solicit some funds to donate an instrument to at least a needy child. Two, let us see if we can help to organize pickups and drop-offs of school assignments to both students and teachers where internet service is low or non-existent. We can't leave everything to the government. It's our responsibility to have our kids educated. Recommendation number three, arrange with pastor, donors, and all other stakeholders of education to raise funds to purchase data for students. In another case, some of our students, they do have the gadget, but they are limited when it comes to funds to source the data that is needed, especially our PEP students, our CSEC students, our CAPE students, and our final year tertiary students. So where we can give some data as youth leaders, we're suggesting that we help in that area. For churches, there are a lot of our churches who do have quality access to Wi-Fi and reliable access to Wi-Fi. We're asking that we sublet the use of these instruments, this technology, to needy students in the community, even if they are unsaved, right? There's a reliable Wi-Fi internet access at your church. Let us see how we can align ourselves to the COVID dictates and at the same time help the needs within our community. All parents should strive to arrange a corner of their home to reflect the standards of a learning environment. If they're going to learn at home, we can't have them on the bed, we can't have them sitting on the floor, right? We have to arrange an environment at home that really reflects the standards of learning. So find a little corner. For some of us, there are limitations as to space where you need to find a little corner and allow it to appear or to reflect the standards of a learning environment. Recommendation number 6, create and operationalize an educational committee on your district, an educational committee on your district to assist with training. We have a lot of teachers, we have a lot of counselors, we have a lot of school principals. Let us see if we can identify these skilled professionals and formulate a committee to assist with training, continuous learning, and more so to offer support, be it psychological or psychosocial. Brothers and sisters, I know, we know that the challenges are many, but guess what? It's our responsibility, it's our duty to have our kids educated, especially if they fall within the age range of 4 to 16. I know the challenges are many, but let us see what we can do as a church, because in truth and in fact, that's what the church is about. We have to minister to the challenges that surround us. I thank you very much for listening. I particularly am concerned as to those of our students who are not the fast learners and those who have differing learning styles that might not align itself to technology. But we are a praying body and we believe in the worth and the work of prayer. So let us continue to cover our children. I have no doubt also that within this pandemic, the devil would want to launch an attack for our kids not to learn and to do well in school. But we are trusting the Master during difficult times. Thank you very much. I am now availing myself for questions and hoping that I can find the answers.
Excellent, Dr. Davis. Thank you so much for your presentation and for what were very clear and meaningful suggestions that I think are very implementable across our churches and districts. We have the opportunity to take some questions, and Claudia Hines Pantry from Linstead is jumping in. Terry Smith is jumping in as well. So let's take those questions, precise and concise. Claudia, go first. Unmute and go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased with the presentation so far, I must say. And I just had a little pop-up in my head after the presentation or during the presentation by Reverend Dr. Stenneth Davis. I know there are many of us, many adults, who may have some devices at home. They are not really outdated, but they may need some amount of repairs, maybe not a lot of repairs. And I know there are skilled persons within our churches. I'm just wondering if there might be something that could be put in place, like persons who want to donate some of their used devices to some of these students. But these devices may need a little repair. If we could get like volunteers from our churches island-wide that has these skills that can really repair them and donate them to some of our children.
Claudia, that's an excellent suggestion.
Yes,
Let's all take that on board. Claudia's suggestion is that, you know, those who can fix devices, if we have people in the churches with those skills, persons can donate them. We do some quick repairs and we donate them. Thank you so much, Claudia, for that suggestion. Terry, let's take Terry Smith. Unmute and speak, Terry.
Ron,